Hi guys, today we are going to talk about VuGen Runtime Settings. Once we have recorded script, we have to configure runtime settings. These give control over the script execution. These settings are saved in file named default.config in VuGen script directory. These settings are applicable when we run the script using VuGen and controller. Let's see what we are going to cover in this tutorial. Run logic, pacing, log, think time, additional attribute, miscellaneous, speed simulation, browser emulation, proxy, preference, download, content check, data format extension. We will see these in detail through tool demo. I have opened the script that we recorded during tool demo in previous tutorial. Runtime setting can be invoked by pressing F4 or through VuGen tab, then clicking Runtime Setting, or through the shortcut available over here. So the very first is run logic. From the run logic, we can set the sequence for executing the action. It's a good chance to develop the understanding that any action coming under init and end will get executed just once throughout the test. If we want user to log in just once during the test, we have to either call the login function within user_init or within init. The same is for logout. Under run, whatever sequence you see, the action are executed in that flow. We know that nothing is get recorded in action, so I am deleting this. Let's take a case when my user log into the application just once, book the ticket twice, and delete the ticket once and then log out. Let's see how we do this. First of all, we have to delete login and sign off from run. To insert login in init section, let's click on init, click insert action, select login from the list and click OK. VUser_init supposed to be executed very first. So let's bring login action down to move down option. The same is for logout. So I'm going to insert sign off in end action in the same way. Now we want ticket booking to be happen twice in one iteration. So for this we have to insert a block. Within the block I have to insert ticket booking action. As just there is only one action within this block, I'm calling this sequentially, else if there are many we can call them random as well according to our need. We want this to be executed twice, so I'm making it 2 iteration is equal to 2. Click OK. Now let's delete this from action. So this is our case. When user log into the application, execute ticket booking twice, ticket cancellation once, and then sign off. Let's take another case when we want to execute either booking or cancellation of the ticket at a time. So out of 10 times we want user to book the ticket 6 times and cancel the ticket 4 times. In such case we have to create a block and call the action randomly within 60 and 40% of weightage. So let's delete everything from the action. Now once again insert the block. Within the block invoke both the actions. Now there are more than one action, so I can call them randomly. Now that is our need as well. So within iteration, it will either select ticket booking or ticket cancellation. Okay. So by default, VuGen assign equal weightage to both of the actions, but we want cancellation to be executed 40 times and ticket booking 60 times. So this is our case. So the next setting is pacing. This allows the script to wait for the given time between the iterations. The option as soon as the previous iteration ends disable pacing, hence all the action will run back to back. The next two options can enable pacing, either providing the fixed value or random value between given range. Through the first option, pacing can be included between the iteration. Let's set a fixed value of 30 seconds for this. In this case, a script will wait for 30 seconds after completion of an iteration. The second option sets the pacing between the start of iterations. So we have to set this value more than the script execution time. If the total time to execute the script for an iteration is 300 seconds including think time, then we have to set the pacing value more than 300 seconds. Let's have a random pacing for the second option. So I'm selecting random from the drop down and set 350 as minimum value and 500 as maximum value. Log. VuGen provides the option to maintain the record of each user individually through logs. Logs record all activity performed by user. From here, we can enable and disable logging. Once we enable logging, we also have more flexibility on what information to store. Option send message only when error occurred saves information of user only when error is occurred. Always send message option saves all information of user activity. VuGen also provides flexibility to choose how much detailed information to store in the logs. Either we can have a standard log which saves functions and messages sent while a script is executing, or through extended log we can have additional information apart from standard log data like substituted parameter, data written by server, and each and every message and function sent by user. Think time. It is another step after adding pacing to emulate the real user. By the way, think time is wait time between the transactions. From the available setting, here we can ignore the think time, but that will be very unrealistic user. Generally, this is used by script creation where we don't want to waste time in waiting transaction to execute. To enable the wait between the iteration, script can be executed with the recorded think time, which is the hardcode value in the script, or by varying the recorded value by multiplying factor. The positive value will increase the think time, whereas decimal value will decrease the think time. Rather than going with each think time as fixed, we can allow the VuGen to select any random value from the provided range during the execution. This option brings the script very close to real user. For example, we recorded think time in the script is 3 seconds. To make the think time between 9 seconds to 15 seconds, we should have multiplying factor as 200 as minimum value and 500 as maximum value. Limit think time option can set the maximum value for think time being used throughout the script execution. Let's move to the next option, additional attribute. Additional attribute node can be used to provide an additional argument to the user script. For the demo purpose, let's have a fresh script. Let's open runtime setting. To add an additional attribute, click Add button. Give the argument name and value. Click OK. To retrieve the value, we have to use the function lr_get_attribute_string. So I'm just pasting the functions over here. So this is our parameter name, the attribute name that we have given. LR output message is for display the value that we obtained by running this. So I'm going to hit this run button, and here you can see the value that we have provided to the argument. Miscellaneous. From miscellaneous runtime setting, we can configure setting related to error handling, multi-threading, automate transaction. Continue on error option allows VuGen to continue running even error occurs. Fail open transaction on LR error message option fails all the transactions which are open when error occurred. Generate snapshot on error option generates the image of web page when error occurs. This helps to debug the script on failing. Multi-threading. The script can be executed either as a process or thread. This is decision factor for taking number of load generator machines while running the script on controller. Each user running as either process or thread has memory footprint depending on configuration of machine and memory footprint of user. The number of user generated depends. Script running as process has more footprint, which brings down the number of user any machine can generate. In most of the cases, script is executed as thread, but there are few protocols which should not be run as thread, such as RTE, RDP, Informix, etc. In case transactions are not created manually, VuGen provides option to create automated transaction. This can be achieved by each action as transaction or by each step as transaction. When we select action as transaction, each execution of action is considered as transaction. This is helpful when we want to know how many tickets are booked or cancelled in our case, as we created separate actions for ticket booking and cancellation. When we select each step as transaction, each step or request is considered as transaction and it provides response of each and every step. It's always better to have manually created transaction in the script. Speed simulation. Speed simulation is to select the bandwidth that we want to use during the test. Generally, we go with maximum bandwidth. In case we want user to go with limited bandwidth, we can go with required bandwidth. Either we can select from the given drop-down list the bandwidth that we can use during the test, or we can enter the custom value. Browser emulation. Browser emulation provides option to select the browser and its feature which affect the performance of an web application. All these settings are available on any browser which LoadRunner provides here. From user agent, browser to be emulated during the test can be selected. Simulate cache allows using the files and images from cache for any server request while running the test. This exactly happens when any of us access any website again on the same browser without clearing cache. Cache URL requiring content HTML option instruct VuGen to cache only URLs that requires HTML content. Check for newer version of stored page. Every visit of the page option instruct VuGen to check for latest version of specified URL than those stored in cache. Simulate a new user on each iteration option simulates like a user clears the cache and cookie before accessing the application. This makes browser to access all the files and images from the server rather than cache. Proxy. VuGen also provides flexibility to use proxy setting. In case we want to run the script with different connection to internet without using proxy server, use no proxy. The next option, obtain proxy setting from default browser, takes the proxy setting from the default browser on the machine in which the script is executed. If there is any custom proxy, that too can be taken care by VuGen. We can supply the actual proxy server details or the path of a proxy automatic configuration script that enables automatic configuration. use proxy server option, we can specify one proxy server for all HTTP sites, another proxy server for all HTTPS sites. For example, if we want to run our script through Fiddler, which is network capturing tool, we have to provide the proxy as 127.0.0.1 and port as 8888. If you want to use the same for HTTPS, click on this box. Accept option allows us to specify exceptions to the proxy server rules. On clicking Authentication button, we get a Proxy Authorization dialog box. If the proxy server requires authentication for each user, use this dialog box to enter the relevant username and password. Next one is preference. Preference deals with area like checkpoint, performance graph, and advanced setting. Enable image and text check option allows to perform verification check during replay by executing the verification function web find and web image check. In case verification is done with other functions as web find, that will remain unaffected. This option is applicable for HTML based mode of recording. Generate web performance graph. This instructs a user to collect data used to create the performance graph. We can view hit per second, page per second, and response time, response byte per second graphs during the test execution using online monitors and after the test using analysis. Minute replay. It instructs VuGen to use minute replay engine instead of a standard socket replay. VuGen has two HTTP replay engines, socket based and minute based. Socket based is the default one. Non-HTML items errors as warning. This option returns an warning status for functions which fails on an item that is not critical for load tests, such as an image or Java applet that failed to download. This option is enabled by default. If you want a certain warning to be considered as an error and fails the test, we can disable this option. Download filters. Download filter is used for intended test where performance test is done for a specific application and data accessing with other sites are blocked. Nowadays, many sites like Facebook, Reddit, Yahoo are having advertisement of other sites coming up on web page. To have focus testing for such application, URL of such advertisements should be blocked. The filter can be either included or excluded URL or requests coming from the host. Let's add a URL. So if we are doing the testing for OLX, then we can select include only address in the list, and rest other URLs on the same site will be excluded. If we are doing the testing for other site where OLX is having their ad, then they can be blocked, either exclude address in the list. Content check. Content check is a type of global text check which is very helpful in finding the errors which comes in the application. It enables to detect all types of errors sent by server by instructing VuGen to search the text as defined in the Content Check tab in all the documents and response written by the server. This helps much in debugging when transactions failed. If there is already a rule created for a content check for an error, it's easy to identify that the transaction failed due to already known error. Let's create a rule. Click on new application to name your application. Okay. Now click on new rule to create the rule. The text we are looking for: server not found. Let's name this server not found, and it will fail if it is found. Now the next is data format extension. It allows data format extension during replay. It instructs VuGen to convert specified data to more readable format. So this was all about runtime settings. In the next tutorial, we will discuss more on parameterization. Thank you.